welcome to Hot Topic. Tonight's edition will focus on addiction. We have with us Rosemary Walls, who is not only the wife, but also the daughter-in-law of an alcoholic and is also a sugar addict herself. To start off the night, we'd like to talk about the effect of having an alcoholic parent. Your husband's mother, we've been informed, was an alcoholic. Did growing up within an environment with an alcoholic parent have any direct and noticeable effects on him?
Definitely. First, my husband Rex has always been distant from his parents. He never wanted to return to Welch, his hometown. Sometimes he'd resist and find ways to get out of it. When he can't, though, I've noticed an obvious change in his behavior. In fact, he'll often try to act more like his parents when we're in Welch.
Interesting. What other behavioral changes are there?
Well, first of all, he doesn't stick around very often. He's almost never home.
And your husband, he's an alcoholic too?
Yeah, so for a while he wasn't, it wasn't a big issue, but shortly after losing our second daughter, Mary Charlene, Rex began drinking more and more.
So why do you think Rex became an alcoholic in the first place? Was it because of Mary Charlene or because of his mother?
I believe that his mother was the main cause of his alcoholism. Having an alcoholic as a parent affected him directly.
How is this?
Well, I didn't know him or his family growing up, but I can assume a few things from our family. His alcoholism results in financial instability and therefore causes many arguments. His mood varies too. Sometimes he's a great husband and a great role model to our children, but other times he's abusive. He's also passed out a lot, and so he just misses a lot of things that happen.
I'm so sorry to hear this. Can you tell me a little bit about your economic situation and elaborate upon your financial instability?
Because he's an alcoholic, he has a hard time keeping any particular job. When he's employed, most of the money he spends is on alcohol. Even the money I earn usually goes towards alcohol. We try to hide it, but it never really works. One time, I even tried hiding the money in a sock that I gave to my daughter, but he managed to catch it anyways. Alcohol puts a huge financial strain on our family.
So, what kinds of compromises does the financial strain cause your family to make?
Well, the kids all have to work. It's only fair, Everyone has to pitch in. Lori and Jeanette earn money with jobs. Sometimes they try to help more with things like a budget plan, but that was for my husband and I to deal with.
So how do the kids provide income?
Well, Jeanette babysat growing up. Later, when I took on art classes, she took a real job as at a jewelry shop to pitch in. She was very independent at a young age. We always wanted our kids to be self-sufficient. Like when my youngest daughter, Maureen, got out of jail, the only way for her to recover was to completely detach herself from the family. Purchasing the bus ticket to California was by far the best decision she could have ever made.
So, why did you come to decide that not giving a child a childhood was the best outcome? Like, at the end of the day, all children mature into adults, so why rush it?
Well, during the time that I was addicted to sugar, my husband was also drinking. So I was in charge of providing the family income, but because of my addiction, I was selfish and I put the responsibility on my children. By forcing them to mature earlier, they were able to help out the family at an earlier age. It's interesting to think about the decisions that my children made. Lori, for example, left her family at the age of 17 to go to New York. She came back from summer camp the previous summer, changed. She wanted independence and to be treated like normal people. Then Jeanette started saving money to do the same thing. Rex kept on taking it. I'm surprised that they were able to mend their relationship by the time she left. I was always envious of her getting out of the hellhole that we call home.
So, was envy what caused you and Rex to eventually move to New York City as well?
Yes, I had trouble convincing him actually. He hated the city. He said it was just full of drug dealers and prostitutes, but I wanted it so badly and I ended up convincing him.
So, New York is a pretty expensive place to live. How did you afford living there?
Well, for a while, we moved from place to place. We couldn't really stay in any one place for too long, whether it be due to money or bad decisions. So we started living with our kids. It was easier, but eventually the arrangements didn't really work out. We had a car that we slept in, but one day it was towed, and because it was unregistered, we couldn't get it back. So we were homeless. Looking back at it though, it could have been the best decision ever. It forced us to be self-sufficient.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. You have a very interesting story that should be heard by many.
Thank you.
Next with us is Dr. Smith. She's an addiction specialist who specializes in alcoholism. Dr. Smith, thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm always so excited to talk about this issue because it is such a widespread problem. In fact, 16.6 million adults over the age of 18 have already had an alcohol addiction, and that was just in 2013. Like in Rosemary's case, alcoholism puts a huge strain on everyone associated with the alcoholic, and especially kids. Familial alcoholism results in added pressure on children that they just aren't ready for. According to a 2012 study, 10% of kids live with at least one alcoholic. That means that 1 in every 10 kids might be forced to be a source of income, and in more dire situations, 1 in every 10 kids might experience abuse from 1 or more of their family members.
Wow, so why is alcoholism so prevalent?
Well, alcoholic addicts for the most part use alcohol as a scapegoat from reality. Alcohol blocks the GABA receptors in the brain, causing the person to lose control of movement and communication. This in turn leads to breakdowns and other irrational behaviors. For example, abuse is often a huge result of alcoholism.
Interesting. So, is it present in families of all economic backgrounds, or are there common trends?
Well, because alcohol is used to escape from reality, families suffering more hardships tend to be the ones who are abusing alcohol. But at the same time, there are people of all economic backgrounds that experience alcoholism.
So obviously, alcoholism is a huge problem that affects many people. Are there any steps we can take to prevent it and protect our children from having to deal with these problems?
Well, a lot of the schools are already helping with this issue. They will instruct their teachers on how they can identify children who might be living in bad situations or who are being affected by alcoholism. And often social workers will come in, they will investigate, and they will remove the child if need be. However, there are a few flaws in this method. Sometimes children from families with alcoholics, they can't be identified because they don't show physical scars, or maybe they're just a quiet person, their need can't be seen. And also, the foster care systems, those aren't always the best situations for children, and they might be experiencing more pain by going to one of them.
Wow, so what do you suggest?
I think what we need to be focusing on is the rehabilitation programs. We need to create more and less expensive ways for people to reach out for help. The problem needs to be solved at the origin with the alcoholics.
I couldn't agree more. Well, it looks like we're out of time. Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. This has been great. That's all for our show. I'm Lindsay, and this is Hot Topic.